Braveheart Workshops, inspiring connection. Restore. Dream. Getaway experiences. Love, live, and laugh. With Braveheart Workshops. Live now with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, Restore, Renew, and Reconnect in Community, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today from the UK is Elizabeth Buko. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Hi, Jill. Thank you for having me.
So what is it like today in the UK?
It's pretty cold. It's pretty cold, but
Yes,
it's good. We know Christmas is coming.
That's the same here in the United States. It's getting chillier. Well, I'd love the audience to know just a little bit about you. Elizabeth is a speaker, writer, and a wealth coach. She helps high-achieving women improve their finances and start their wealth-building journey by changing the way they think about money from a biblical, faith-based perspective. She worked as a chemical engineer for 7 years before being made redundant. She turned that road bump into an opportunity to following her passion and becoming a full-time financial coach. Elizabeth helped women eliminate tens of thousands in personal debt, start investing towards their financial goals, grow their net worth to multiple 6 and 7 figures, and let go of deep personal beliefs that limit them financially. She's the founder of Wealth from Little, where she runs monthly biblical wealth creation classes. She's married and has 2 young children. Well, how wonderful that bio is, and what a difference from chemical engineering to finance.
Huge difference, Jill.
Huge difference, huge difference. Well, Elizabeth, I'd love for you to take us on a journey. I always like to start my podcast with the speaker sharing a little bit of connecting the dots. So if you take us back on a journey growing up as a child, and then what your life was like, and then how it led you into chemical engineering and then financial wealth.
Yes, sure. So I grew up in Nigeria, Lagos State, and I grew up with my mom. My mom was a single mom for about the first 10 years of my life. And I grew up with my mom and my grandmother. And they were such powerful women. They always went after what they wanted, and they were very successful in their individual fields. And seeing them achieve whatever they wanted to achieve was really enlightening. And I always had this vision in my mind that when I grew up, I was going to be so similar to my mom. I felt like that, she was my role model. My mom got married when I was around 11, and my stepdad was awesome. It was wonderful. But being part of, a bigger family was amazing. But somewhere, along the line before my stepdad came into the picture, I had always felt like not having my dad there made me feel a bit insecure and made me feel a bit unsafe. And so I felt like, to ensure that going forward in my adult life, as I turned into a teenager and was striving towards looking towards adulthood, I really felt that I needed to put myself in a position where I could earn as much money as I could, so that I'm always going to be secure, so that I can always take care of myself and I never have to rely on anyone else.
So with that beginning, what
Mhm.
what did your mother and grandmother do? You said that they were very successful. What type of careers did they have?
Mhm. My grandmother was a nurse, and she went on to be one of the first Nigerian nurse tutor in the whole country.
Wow.
She worked with the World Health Organization. She traveled to in her time, she traveled to 32 countries. She taught in multiple countries on, midwifery. She taught midwives how to deliver children. And she was really amazing. And she ended up retiring at the age of 42. She recently died. She was 90, 89, almost 90 when she passed away. But she was really amazing because she was always doing something, and she was always doing this with a smile, and she believed in excellence. And for her, it came effortlessly. It seemed to me like it came effortlessly. Like, and she doing whatever she wanted to do just seemed effortless for her. Then my mother was a lawyer, is a lawyer. She still is. She runs her own law firm now. And she's worked as a lawyer from, all my life, right? I remember, because my mother and I lived along with my brother, we lived in my grandmother's house, right? For a while. I remember that my mom would wake up super early, drop me at school, and she'll go to work. Then my grandmother would take care of me. Luckily, I'm blessed. She was retired already. She'd take care of me till my mother came home. But my mom would come home and I'd see her like reading these huge books. And she was a super fast reader. She would read it in no time and, move on to the next thing. She was always, it always seemed to me like she was working really hard. And she was really young as well, when she had me. But she really, I just kept seeing both of them just smash barriers and achieve what they wanted to.
So great examples of overcoming obstacles, living in the country that you were from, and not letting any oppression get to them. They pushed forward. And I too, just so you know, Elizabeth, I was a single, never married mom for 17 years, and I raised my son alone as well. And so I could really identify. I had my son actually a little later probably than your mom. I had him when I was 28 years old. And I too, became very successful in outside sales. And I became a Christian right at the time I got pregnant. And God was amazing how right to the penny of what my needs were, He blessed me, because lots of my income was commission based. And every month my sales would come in to the penny of what we needed, what our needs were. And it just blew my mind away. And I remember during that time of my life really trusting God for my sales. And I remember that many times before I'd walk into a sales appointment, I would pray, Father God, if this client needs my products and services, open their eyes so that they know they need this, and have them buy from me. And if you feel that a different product and service is better for them, please help me to accept that and move on with grace and humility. And so it was very good. And so because I did that, I felt like all of my sales were God blessed.
Yeah.
They were, it makes a huge difference. So growing up in this wonderful family of very entrepreneurship women, and that your mom being a single mom, at what journey at this point in your life was God in their life and became into yours? Did they have any faith in God, or were they into more secular types of spirituality back in those days?
Yeah, so my mother was a Christian as well. Yes, so she used to take me to church, and it was throughout that time. And my grandmother also went to church every week. And so they were both highly involved in church activities. And so definitely God was a big part of our upbringing and the way, we just lived life.
And you have a brother, you said as well, that
Yes.
and is he younger or older than you?
I have an older brother.
An older brother. And where is he at now?
He's in Nigeria now.
He's still in Nigeria. Okay.
Yes.
Is mom and your stepfather still together?
Yes, they are.
And they're in Nigeria as well?
Yes, they are.
They are. So you're on this journey, And
Mhm.
just to pause a moment, I do a connection show on Wednesday evenings. I'd love for you to jump on if you could on Wednesday night. We're doing a thing called Legacy Burdens and Blessings, and it talks about very similar in the Bible, where it talks about that there'll be 4 generations of sin. Legacy burdens are ancestral burdens that come onto us, as well as legacy blessings. And it sounds to me like you had some great legacy blessings through grandma, then mom, then passed on to you. It also sounds like you've had, similar to me and my son, legacy burdens of the
Mhm.
burden of not being raised by your father, which my son went through as well. And so I'm very aware myself, raising a son without a father, of the burden that is placed upon that child who longs for knowing that father but doesn't have that connection. And even when another person comes in, like a great stepfather, which my son was blessed with a stepfather when he was 17, the burden is still there. So if you wouldn't mind me being personal, if you can share a little bit what that burden had been like for you as a child growing up, and did you ever meet your dad, and have you ever met him and
Mhm.
connected?
Yes. It's interesting that you talked about legacy blessings and burdens, because my grandmother's father was a missionary as well, in the early 1900s. Um, with regards to my dad, yes, I do know him, and I did meet him. I never lived with him, but he's definitely, very important in my life. Um, Growing up, we never really I never really lived or hung out with him in my maybe first 10 years. I remember my mom would take us to go and visit him. He lived in a different country, so she would take us there to go and visit him. And I think we did that once or twice, where we went to see him when we traveled to see him. And then when I was about 13, he moved back to Lagos, Nigeria. He moved back. And one day I was in my grandmother's house. I used to go to my grandmother's house after school just to be with my grandmother, and, because there was no one at home. And she was my guardian after school. So after school, I'd be in her house, and he turned up. He came, maybe I was 12. I was around 12, and he turned up in her house and said, "Hi." This was before cell phones were a thing, so he probably didn't call. He just knew where her house was from when, before I was born, and he just came to visit. So he visited us there, and I was really excited to see him. It was amazing. My grandmother was, over the moon that he had come, and I was, and we started building a relationship then. But it was definitely a very interesting relationship, because, and I thank God that, I had my stepdad, because he was an amazing role model of a father, and a caregiver, in the leadership aspect, and in terms of leading the home, and leading the family, and taking care of our needs, and our being responsible for us. But my dad, he came across really fun. Like, he would take me out to like places where you could have fun, maybe restaurants, nice restaurants that, I mean, mom was not going to spend money on taking me to, because, well, one, I'm 12. Two,
We
I should
used
be doing my homework.
we used to call those days. My parents divorced when I was quite young, like 5, 6, and my father had visitation every Sunday. And so
Mm,
when we saw Dad, which, he was my rock, we called Sunday Fun Day. It was Sunday Fun Day. So when Dad came, we did bowling and football games and baseball games and roller skating, and, all those fun things that we did with
yeah.
Dad, because he only had about 9, 10 hours with us on a Sunday. So it sounds like Sunday Fun Day with your
Was
dad.
Sunday, yeah, it really was like a Sunday fun day, when he'll come around, and he'll spend a lot of money, or he'll even give me some money to take away. And and I'll tell my mom, and it'll be, she was excited for me that I was excited. She never said a bad word about him, never. I imagined he was just like a rock star. He seemed like a rock star to me. So one day my mom says to me, speak to your dad, just mention to him about school fees, And I was like, I said to myself, please, do you know how much my school fees are? Easy peasy. He can pay for that in a blink. I see how much money he spends when we go out. He can pay for that in a blink. So I mentioned to him that, oh, by the way, would you like to contribute to my school fees? I'm expecting, of course, I'll pay it. No big deal. And he goes something like, really? Is that how much your school costs? I think your school is really expensive. Let me see if I can try and get you into, he called a different school that was also good, but a lot cheaper. He called a different school and he said he will see if he knows people who can help me get into that school so that I don't have to, pay that much. I was like, really? So that was like a really early indication that
there was definitely some manipulation going on there.
As to the way he thought about money and how he spent it, and those kind of things repeated themselves quite often. He would give me money for pocket money or stuff. I remember one Valentine's Day, it was amazing. He came to my school and he'd ridden up to my school and he came and called me out that, it was lunchtime anyway. So, and someone came and said, oh, your dad's here. I was like, really? Oh gosh, no. I didn't really want to go. I went out and then he said, hey, what's up? Oh, he bought me a cake, like a Valentine's Day cake. Then it was a big thing then. And it was a huge cake. So it's not like I could eat it by myself. It wasn't a small cupcake. And I said, I can't finish this here. Like you have to take it away. He said, no, it's for you and your friends. I was like, really? For me and you bought cake for me and my friends on Valentine's Day. And then he also bought like drinks, but he didn't buy one drink. He bought like 30 drinks. This was soft drinks, but in school, most people were drinking water. So like a soft drink was, we're secondary school students. We don't really have that much money. So he bought like drinks for everyone in my class and a huge cake for like that everyone could share. So of course I had to share it, but and everyone's like, oh, your dad's the best. Your dad's so cool. Your dad's so nice. And I was just like, but really? Like,
he won't pay for my education. He won't contribute to my education. He'll make it look to the general public like everything's great. So with all of that, then, where are you and your dad at today relationally?
Yeah, so we still talk, we still talk. Our conversations are, very, I love him dearly. I guess I have accepted him for who he is. Right now, I'm much older. I have children of my own that I'm focusing my energy on. But I don't really think he's changed. He's still the same. He's a fun kind of person. He enjoys the fun in the moment, living in the moment, and
you love him for where he's at, and
yeah,
and we can't change what we hope. Like the I guess they call it, what do they call it now? The imposter syndrome or whatever. It's like whatever people are, you accept them for where they are. And so it's great that you have at least some relationship. My son has always longed for one with his dad, and he has never had that, is biological. So it's good that you were able to do that. So take us on the journey then. You're going to school. You're a growing up woman. And so where in your life then does your husband come in and relocating to the UK? How does that come into fruition?
So I was born in the UK. Both my parents were here at the time, and I moved back to Nigeria to be with my mom and my grandma. But when I was about 14 or 15, I came back to the UK. My mom sent me back here to school. I came back to the UK and I attended the school. And while I was in that school, I had a friend who sent me a message. It was a boarding school, so I was always away from home. But I had a friend who sent me a message saying that, oh, one of my friends is in London and he doesn't really have many friends. But I know you are very friendly. So I said that I would introduce you. I was like, but I'm in boarding school. Like, I can't even see your friend. But that's how we got introduced, and we started texting then when texting was a thing. We started texting and sending SMSs and calling. And that I was thinking I was around 17 then. Then we probably started dating maybe when I was 18. It's a bit blurry now. And literally, he's my husband. He's my husband right now. Yeah, and that's exactly how we met.
How long have you guys been married, Elizabeth?
6.5 years.
Six and a half or 16?
6.5 years.
And how old are your children?
5 and 3. I have to think about that. They're 5 and 3.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now you're in the UK and you're married to this great guy and 2 small children. And so during this period of being married and out of college, you're a chemical engineer. And so when did you transition away from that? How long ago and into this new career path that you're in now?
Yeah. So I'd worked straight out of college. I knew I wanted to work as a chemical engineer, process engineer. And I'd had this vision, even before I got my job, I had this vision that I would become the CEO of my company or my consultancy, or maybe I would take over from the CEO. I would just rise to the top. I just had that vision. And I remember going for a church event in 10 years ago, and they asked us at that event, where do you see yourself in 10 years, which is 2020? And I said, this was 10 years ago in 2010. I said, in 2020, I'm going to be the CEO of my oil and gas consultancy because I was in oil and gas then. And that was it. And that was what I said. And I remember that clearly. So I'm working as an oil and gas consultant, chemical engineering consultant. And I'm working with this small company, but it's a wonderful company. I'm getting so much exposure, so much learning, and I'm advancing pretty quickly. Then the company starts experiencing some financial stress, maybe about 3 years ago, or slightly more, maybe 4 years ago. Say experiencing some financial stress, and the market, the oil and gas market, was also experiencing some strains. So things were getting a bit tight. Then we were on the verge. We were working on this particular project, and things were looking really good. And then my company's boss, my CEO, passed away suddenly. He fell ill pretty quickly. Within like a week, he passed away. And he owned the company. And so when he passed away, like the main shareholders had come together and decided that, based on how the company was doing financially and without like a leader to push it forward, that they were going to like split it up and, let people go and do what they needed to do to, restructure and just move on. However, what that meant for me was that I received a call saying, don't have to come into work today.
Your job's been eliminated.
yeah. And it's nothing to do with you. It's the fact that, this is happening, and our dear leader, whom we loved really dearly, passed away, and it was his vision, and now other people are taking over, and the vision is different. I was like, right. And I'm at home, 7 months pregnant with my 7th child, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
what does this mean? Yeah.
Because this is not what I was imagining. I'm imagining, I I don't know. I'm imagining loads of good things coming,
Yeah.
not
You're
like,
imagining having your second child, doing maternity leave, and going back and getting a paycheck.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
But
God had another plan for you.
definitely, definitely. And so what that meant was that, okay, we're having, because the company was facing financial struggles, there was no, like, company wasn't giving out severance pays or redundancy pays to people. My salary, which for that month, which had not been paid, and it was not going to be paid, and everything was just up in the air. Apart from that, there were other investments I had made with the company, which I was not going to get back as well in terms of the returns. So it looked like a quick succession of loss of job, loss of income, loss of potential
Investments, yeah.
redundancy packages, loss of that whole month I had worked and I didn't get anything. And it was just an interesting domino effect of losses. And pushing on from that, I think being pregnant at the time kind of took my mind off this because I was already tired. But once the baby was born, maybe, I know hormones definitely had a part to play, but I definitely started feeling the effect of the loss, coming on me mentally. And I felt really unwanted and rejected. And this is, it's not true. There was, if when we explain the situation, I can see, and I explain it to myself, I can see that, look, it's not my fault he passed away. It's not my fault he got sick. It's not my fault the company had financial issues. And it's not my fault that, my job was made redundant. But even though it's my job that was made redundant, somehow, the way the mind works and the way the devil plays with you, you kind of think that it's you that is being made redundant and you that is being unwanted. And all these feelings just started piling up. And I remember just constantly thinking that there's something wrong with me. And not just in terms of because I was made redundant, but in terms of the way I was thinking. I noticed that my thinking was taking me down a really dark path. And I knew that there was something wrong with that. As I started to explore it more, and I had tried, I'd be praying and talking to God and just being like, why, what's going on? And I'd start to try and look for new jobs, and but I'd sabotage all the jobs because I'd ask something ridiculous, or I really didn't want any other job. And I really felt really helpless and unworthy and unable to be helped. I did not see myself outside that company. You see, Jill, for the longest part of my life has been cradled around labels. I built my life based on labels that I was, or labels that I was aspiring to. So as a student, I'm a student, or I'm a B student, or an A student, well, an A/B student, not like the top of the class, but not the bottom either. Mm-hmm. So I'm a student, and then I'm a chemical engineer. And then these are the labels that I was holding on to, and with them came a certain prestige, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this prestige was something that I enjoyed. Like people asking, what do you do? And I am a chemical engineer.
You identified with those labels.
With those labels, yeah.
And the label that I'm finding this out just recently. This is a newer revelation, is when those labels really penetrate our soul. We forget that the greatest label to meditate on and to sit with is I am the resurrected daughter of God. And when we get to a place of looking at our resurrection in Christ, because we look at Christ as being the resurrected God, but we forget that we're the resurrected daughter of Christ because he lives in us. And because he resurrected, we are resurrected. So what title can we give to ourselves but we are a resurrected queen?
Mm,
Is that right?
exactly. 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 But at that point, I was just stuck on the labels.
Yeah.
And what's worse about that was when I picked chemical engineering, I did not pick it because I loved it. I picked it because I looked through all the courses that I could do based on my strengths. And I had a look at the projected income of people who did those courses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you studied based on my strengths, right? So I wish I could have, done things that maybe like plastic surgery, become a plastic surgeon, but I didn't like blood. But based on my strengths, chemical engineering came out top in that they earned pretty good income over time. And that was why I picked that course,
And
not because I
it had a
enjoyed
good
it.
title. It had a good
And it had a
title.
good title, yeah. And so going forward, losing the job and the income, I felt like I'd lost everything. Everything. It really felt. And I had this new baby, and I had my wonderful husband, and God bless us, the way God that matches people up. He does not think about money the way that I do. So it's wonderful. But I felt like that, and it was like I'm supposed to be accelerating somewhere. I'm supposed to be achieving something. I'm 3 years away from being the CEO of my own company. And how can I be redundant now? Um, it was just a bunch of different emotions, and not having that income coming in to my account, and that income literally was telling me that I'm doing well. You're doing well in being this label that you are. And it was like ticking the box. Each month that paycheck came in, that paycheck was ticking the box, validating who I really was, who I thought I really was, right? And once that paycheck wasn't coming in, I felt threatened, and I felt unwanted, and I felt like I wasn't worth something.
Well, and women anyway naturally want security. And so when that
Mm,
security is gone, we feel out of control.
mm, yeah, definitely. And
So what took place then? So what takes place? You're in this postpartum depression of feeling worthlessness, helpless, insecure, all these emotions, unwanted. And so what transpires next?
So what happens is, like, obviously I'm relying on my husband for money, and it's, he doesn't even see it as a thing. He's wonderful, but I'm thinking that, oh boy, I'm back in this position where I need to rely on someone else. And how about if they let me down? This is the thoughts that I'm thinking, and I'm having this conversation with God. And I remember when I was 4 or 5. Now I don't know if this happened or if it happened in my mind or in a dream, but I remember my mother having this conversation with my grandmother or someone, and she's telling the person that she asked my dad for nursery fees. So this is when I was in nursery. She asked my dad for nursery fees for me, and the fees then were maybe the equivalent of maybe £3 or something like that, £2. Well, she asked my dad for nursery fees, and he said he couldn't afford it, which could not have been true. And I'm remembering that conversation. Now, again, let me be clear. It might not have happened. It might have been a dream. It might have been in my head. Like when I was 5, it might have, I might have made it up. But in my adulthood, I'm remembering that happened. And I'm remembering, and I'm thinking that, because of money, he, let me go. He didn't want to have to pay.
Mm.
He didn't want to have to pay for me, so he let me go. And then now I'm losing this money that was my security, and I'm thinking, oh boy, like, who's going to want to be with me now? I have
So,
no money.
yes. So now you know if you ask your husband for money, he might say, I'm not going to give it. It's too much. I'm going to leave. I'm
Yeah,
leaving.
something like that. This is what's going on in my head. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, but this is what's going on in my head. Like, like,
Elizabeth, you saying it's ridiculous, but it's not. This is what legacy burden stuff is the
mm,
burden stays with you. And I've seen this played out very profoundly when I was in treatment for my eating disorder. I was with a world-renowned drama therapist, and she did a skit, a therapy skit around legacy burden, and it was so profound. It was a mother who was born in South Africa, and she had gone to school, and a group of boys on her way home attempted to rape her, and she was able to get away. And when she ran home to her family, her father's response was, "Oh, get over it. All girls in South Africa get raped. Just get over it. You didn't get raped. Get over it." So her burden came on that something this traumatic was no big deal. And then her husband, who she married in the United States, he was doing some woodworking at 12 years old with his father. And as he's in the basement doing the woodworking, the father grabs the hammer from him and says, "Give me that. You're doing it all wrong. You'll never amount to anything. You never do anything right." So his burden was, you'll never amount to anything. You don't do anything right. So fast forward it, they have a child. That child gets date raped at 14. So what happens is in her mind, so take this in your little girl's mind, her mind says, "Get over it. This happens to everyone. It's no big deal." So she doesn't tell her parents. And she takes on the burden of, you'll never amount to anything. You do everything wrong. So she took this burden on at the time of her rape. So when they reworked the scene of the mother and the father and being able to visually have someone play out those scenes, the girl in treatment who was there came forward in front of her true mother and father, shared her rape, and then they came to her, hugged her, and showed her she did nothing wrong. She'll always amount to something, and that they were there to support her. And the whole room was crying. Every person in the room is crying, and the family's getting healed. So these burdens are real. And so your 5-year-old knew the burden. And so that burden, as you connect the dots, is coming into fruition now because it has that memory, that it has that PTSD, post-traumatic stress memory, embedded. And so it's not that you shouldn't be thinking that. That's that burden that needs to be healed and released. So
Yeah.
this is coming out crystal clear. So what happens next then?
Yeah. So that whole period, maybe for about 3 months, because I'm constantly battling, like having this real battle in my mind, like every day. So maybe 3 months later, once the kids are in bed and the house is quiet, I'm downstairs on my laptop in the sitting room, just studying different things. I'm studying the brain. I know there's something wrong. I know I'm a child of God. I've been a Christian for a long time. I've never experienced this kind of battle with how I'm thinking, attacking how I want to think, right? So and so I'm studying, how the brain thinks thoughts. Then I'm reading books on how emotions are made, because I'm thinking, okay, why are these emotions coming up? And how do they come up? And then I'm studying, looking at my money, and I'm seeing it drop every day. And I'll share that, God blessed me with the ability to save. So by the time I was made redundant, I did have, we did have savings. My husband and I, we had savings. So I wasn't in a position where I desperately needed the job. So to come back to help us with money, we had enough for like about a year. So we were not desperately in need at that point, but it was dropping quickly with every month passing by. And I'm on this couch every night till like 4 a.m. all night, reading books, or reading my Bible, reading different things, and reading books about investing, reading books about finance, because it's another thing that had been on my mind before I got made redundant was I need to make my money work for me, but I just couldn't figure out how. So I'm reading books and learning all these things I never had time to learn before about money. And then God says to me, what is it that you like? What is it that you like? Well, I'm in this conversation, and I'm saying that, well, I just don't know what I want to do. I don't want to go back to work, and I don't want to go back to engineering. And he's like, what is it that you want? And I said, I just like money. That's literally what I said. And he said to me, well, how can you use that for my glory? And I was like, what? they were like, how can you use that for my glory? And I was thinking about it and thinking about it. And over like the next few weeks, like I just got ministered to in terms of what happened was that I started speaking to people about what I was reading, speaking to people about how to, make them things that I knew about saving, things I knew about money management, things I knew that, kept me in being redundant, but not desperate financially. People would come to me asking me, how are you coping? How are you doing financially without, and I would say, oh yeah, we're fine, but like the money is not the issue. Everything else though, between my ears is the issue, but it's not the money. And they'll say, oh, how come? And I'd explain to them how we did it. I'll explain. And I found myself helping more and more people financially and sharing with them how they can start investing, how they can start saving, how they can manage their money better, and how I did it, how I got to this place where I got made redundant and I'm not desperate financially right now. And then that's when I think I was talking with my husband, and I said, I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start writing a blog. I'm going to start helping people with their money, because that's how I can use money, talk about money all day, and bring glory to God at the same time.
And be excited again and feel wanted.
Exactly. And so, and plus, it's money, which is something that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed talking about. And so I start writing this blog, and I get advice from people. Some people say, okay, write about money, but don't talk about God. Don't talk about God. I know you're a Christian, but don't. And I'm like, why? And they say, because, money and God, they just don't go. Because, Christians are supposed to be humble. You're supposed to
which is such a fallacy, because the Bible's crystal clear about how we're supposed to tithe and give 10% back. So the Bible talks a lot about money. And then, where God goes into the temple, and the money changers are in the temple selling their goods, and Jesus walks in and throws all the tables over and says, what have you done to our temple? So, and then the tax collector. So there's a lot in scripture about money. In scripture about money.
Yeah. And so people were trying to warn me that if I start talking about God and money management, then I will get a lot of criticism from Christians who think that I'm trying to sell a rich life or trying to encourage people to invest, make money, be rich or something like that.
And the money will turn to their God, which it doesn't have to become their God.
Exactly. And that money will become their God. And here's the thing. And so I was thinking about that, and I said, okay, I started the blog not talking about God. I think I did one blog post, and it was so hard. After that, I just moved back to God. I was like, do you know what? Money was my God. I know that so clearly. And I had to lose that income coming through for me to realize that it actually was. It's not only when you have $1 million coming in every month that you can say money is your God. Even for women or men who have that 1,000 coming in, 2,000 coming in, that little amount of money coming in, if you love it so much, and that money coming in, no matter how small it is, gives you life, then it is your God. And then for some people, it's the opposite. It's like the debt. The debt is their God, because they're constantly addicted to putting themselves in that situation where they're spending all that they have, so that they never have enough when they should have,
right?
To take care of their bills. And then that really is what they're worshiping. That is their God. It's not just.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, I had the privilege in the 90s to go to treatment for codependency. And so I learned a lot about codependency, and most people think of codependency as being codependent of another person. But the definition that I love for codependency, and this will help with your business, is when do you allow people, places, or things to become more important than yourself, that you lose your identity. And so it's easy to say people because you understand people. Places I identify as your job, your home, or
Mm,
church, or
mm,
some place
mm,
becomes so important you lose your identity because you spend all your time there. But
mm,
the things are the ones I'd like to address. The things are uh, drugs,
mm,
alcohol, sex, overspending, money, gambling, all of those things, eating, under eating, overeating,
mhm,
restricting, over exercising, anything that becomes more important than yourself or your God, then you lose your identity. And so
mm.
it's so important to pause and say, where is that spectrum? And if your spectrum isn't God first, you second, your family third, your work fourth, and other things thereafter, then you're probably out of balance. And so a lot of people, we were raised thinking it's supposed to be maybe God first, then the family, then everybody else, and then we're last.
Mm.
And it's the same on that airplane. If you do not put that oxygen mask on first, you can't save your children. They're going to
Yeah.
die. And
Mm,
so I think for what you're sharing is so much truth because you got to look at who is your God? Who is your
mm,
God? So you
mm,
recognize this after your first blog. So then what
mm.
happens?
Yeah. And so I switch it up and like I infuse God back into it, talking about, God and money. And I do start getting emails from Christians telling me, oh, it's harder for the rich man to go through the eye of a needle. It's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle than to get to heaven or something like that. And the love of money is the root of all evil, and quoting Bible passages at me, and then also trying to redeem my soul as well, to preach to me so that they can, support me in my walk back to God, so that and telling me that security is not in money, and so they don't really have to worry about money. They just need to focus on God. And which was, as expected. But the beautiful thing about that was that gave me an opportunity for a discussion, because God had prepared me for those conversations, because I was battling them myself. Like, how can I talk about money? What about this? What about that? What about all these different Bible passages? And I had gone through a phase of studying those passages and understanding them, what they meant, and understanding what I'm doing as a financial coach and how I'm helping people become better managers of the money that God has given to them, better stewards of the money that it's in their possession, so that they can, actually make proper kingdom impact while on earth. Um, and so, it opened opportunities to discuss with people, and gave me opportunities to laugh as well, and to feel more fulfilled in that sense. And just never looked back. Now it's amazing. I love talking about kingdom mindset, about money, and also actual financial strategies, so that people can get out of debt, and people can start saving more, can start investing, can give more, can support charities they want to support, and have that financial buffer to actually do what God is calling them to do.
Yes, the blessings come. Well, I'd love at this point to pause and show the audience your bio here. And so Elizabeth. And, Elizabeth, at this point, I'd like to just pause a moment and share with the audience about how you connected with this amazing woman, Elizabeth Clamon, in the United States, who is a renowned author and speaker. And she came together and chose a specific handful amount of people to do a anthology collaborative book that's called Fiercely Faithful. And you were chosen. And so God brought you to Elizabeth across the seas to be a part of this book. And so what is the name of your title in the book? Do you remember the name of your title?
Yeah, so it's called Faithful Wealth.
Faithful Wealth.
Yeah.
And so Elizabeth is going to be in this book, Fiercely Faithful, and it's being released actually this month in December on Amazon as an ebook for just $1. So look for that. It's coming out soon. And then in January, it will be released as a hard copy. A team of us have come together, and I'm in the book too as well. My chapter is called The Essence of Humility. And the book's coming out, and so we authors and speakers decided we'd love to meet you in person. So we're having a life conference in Branson, Missouri, the weekend of February 5th through 7th. And unfortunately, with travel restrictions from the U.S. to UK, Elizabeth won't be able to attend. So she definitely wanted to be a part of this podcast, and it will be on YouTube and on my website so that you can connect with her. But when the book is out, you'll be able to reach out to her, and if you want, you can mail it to her. She can sign it and she can send it right back to you if need be. But definitely reach out to Elizabeth. And then for the rest of you that joined in today, you're a vital part of these podcasts, and that's why we love to interview amazing leaders like Elizabeth. And so on Wednesday night, we gather together for Zoom connection groups on the Connection Zoom Gathering Tribe so that you have an opportunity to participate and share and get to know these amazing leaders and others around the globe. So please go to our website, and at the end of this broadcast, you'll see how to connect with us on Wednesday nights. And my website is called braveheartworkshops.com.
Morning, everyone. A little gems from the gym.
Wednesday nights. So hopefully you'll join us. And Elizabeth, it has been just an honor to get to know you. And even though we're across the globe, I feel like we're so very connected.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jill. This has been a wonderful discussion, really wonderful. Probably almost life-changing for me to discuss these things with you. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
And it's so good for us to connect the dots in our lives because it really tells a story. So thank you for your transparency and your willingness to share your personal life with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Everyone, have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining the Connection Show. Bye now. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show. Let's connect now. We can dream together to renew, restore, and reconnect with wellness in our life and community. To enhance connection, join us in the Zoom Connection Gathering Tribe on Wednesday evenings. The Zoom Connection Gathering Tribe is an easy and practical way for everyone to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed and accepted. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Then click on the podcast tab and the Zoom Connection Tribe tab. On that page, go to the Facebook page called The Connection Show Gathering Tribe and register to join our Facebook group.
Now breaking tonight, explosive new recordings from inside
each week in the group so you can log in safely. We meet on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1.5 hours with great topics, laughter, and connection. See you on Wednesday evenings. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.